Go ahead.
All right, everyone, welcome back for another discussion on StormWatch. We'll be discussing the last week of March, the results for 3 games, the Penguins, the Wings, and finishing up with Les Habitants, where Kings had a very good end to the week, not so much a start to the week. We start off, I'm joined by my co-host, John Willis. I'm Brad Willis. And we'll get right into the discussion of the games and then other topics at the end of the presentation. So,
stick around. We're going to be talking about Hurricanes goaltender situation going into the playoffs. Who do you start? And then also our potential playoff matchups in the first round. Who do you want to play? Who would you prefer not to play? So we'll be taking a look at that a little bit later on. But first, we'll jump right in with the first game of the week, which was a loss at the hands of the Pittsburgh Penguins. This was an away game here. Final score to this one was 4-1 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Shots were only 22 for the Pittsburgh Penguins compared to 39 for the Hurricanes. Penalty minutes were 9 apiece. Face-offs were 35 to 39. The Hurricanes, kind of a typical Hurricane-style loss that we've seen over the past few seasons where, they get the shots on net, they get the, shot totals significantly higher than the other team, but ultimately they weren't able to come away with the victory on this one. Go ahead. What were your sort of takeaways on this one?
This is an interesting game. This was Gensel's return to Pittsburgh for one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
It was
they gave him
very nice and Brady Shea's birthdays, 24th and 30th, respectively. So whenever there's an announcement like that or there's some big event, I always know we're going to lose. We never rise to the occasion of these these side celebrations.
Yeah, we won Cam Ward night, but we lost Justin Williams night.
I think that was right. That's exactly right.
Go ahead.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, one of the two.
So this game, the first period was kind of sloppy. It was 0-0. Like you said, the Canes outshot 9-8 in that period. There were a couple penalties early on. Both of them were killed off. I know. In my notes, I made a comment about Burns had a couple bad passes. I don't want to get into it, but Burns he'll whiff on a lot of passes.
Yeah, he's got his head up. He's looking to make plays. I mean,
and that's a byproduct,
it's good quality. And, right.
And then the puck just kind of slowly trickles right to the guy guarding him. And so, Orlov also had a lost control of the puck, walking it up the ice, and it turns into a holding call on Orlov. But the Canes killed that. So the period ends 0-0, like I said, 9 shots. Then lo and behold, the Pens get on the scoreboard early in the second, a little bit more than 2 minutes in. Our old friend Jesse Puljujarvi scored the third of the year. And my note is after Svech took a fall. So I don't know whether Svech lost his edge and the puck just was laying there for Puljujarvi or what happened, but that was a big factor.
Yeah, you maybe wanted a penalty called on that one, but upon replay, it didn't scream like it warranted a penalty. No. But Puljujarvi with a nice shot to finish it. Orlov then tied it up a little bit later, but
there was some buzzing going on when Orlov tied it up. And then off a face-off with 1:50 left, Crosby wins the face-off straight to Rust, and he slaps one in. The shots at the time of the period ending were 24-13. Pens are up 2-1. And again, I make another note at the beginning of the third. Burns must have done something because in my notes it says Burns is really off tonight. We have a little skirmish between Nason and Gruden. I think Nason got the better of that deal. My notes say beat down, but I'm usually not that emphatic about those type of things because those are fights that kind of can never be really truly fair fights. You're on skates and you're grabbing each other's jerseys. It's more of a message.
If you said it was a beatdown,
at the 13-minute mark in the third, Kochetkov stops Crosby point blank. Somehow the puck wrapped around and through cycling, and Crosby finds himself all alone in front of Piotr and takes a slap shot. but Piotr stopped that. Malkin gets called for tripping. Pins kill that. The shots were at that time. This is the 12:30 mark thereabouts. The shots were 35-20 for the Canes. Around the 7-minute mark, Pins started really pressing. We pull our goalie after around the 3-minute mark, and the Pins end up getting 2 empty netters. So although the score was 4-1, 2 of those goals were empty netters. I really didn't have a lot of positives coming out of this game. It seems like although Orlov scored a goal, the only goal of the game, it seems like our defense just was out of sorts. There was a time where Chatfield did a little back pass to Orlov. Well, Orlov was going for a line change, and he just left the puck sitting on the ice. Just things like that. We just seemed out of sorts. I don't know if it's the fact that we had birthdays.
Been playing a lot of hockey.
Yeah, and you're just bound to run into one of those type of games.
Yeah. I mean, the effort seemed to be there in the end, just given the total shot totals, but didn't seem like anything was too dangerous. Nedeljkovic was sharp. He was old friend Nedeljkovic had the win for
Pittsburgh. He was my first star.
Yeah, he was good. He was
good. It was interesting when we go against our former goalies. The goaltender position is like the quarterback position. It's a very key position on the.
Yeah, the next game we faced another former goaltender of ours, James Reimer. James did not fare as well as Nedeljkovic. He didn't look very solid, to be honest with you. Even if he wasn't the goaltender to start that game, I don't think Detroit was ever going to win this one. Hurricanes were dominant throughout. I went to this game. This was Marty Nature's bobblehead night, so I got to Marty Nature's bobblehead. It looks just like and he actually did get on the Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad, yeah. I mean, you can see he doesn't have the puck, which normally is the case. No, but he was good in this game. He had the third goal of the game. Aho got it started. This was all in the second period from minutes 4:42 to 16:23. Aho scored from Gensel and Jarvis. Then Jarvis on the power play from Aho and Gensel. Then Natchez gets the third, like I said, of the game from Kuznetsov and Martinuk. And then followed up by Brady Shea with his 13th of the season from Aho and Jarvis as well. So that line, Aho, Jarvis, Gensel, just ridiculously hot, stays hot. They got each just a bucket of points that game. Yeah, so 4-0, that was all in the second period. No scoring in the first period, no scoring in the third period. I was at this game. It was pretty dominant throughout. Shots were 33-24 for the Hurricanes. Block shots 13-11. Hits were 11-17 for Carolina, having 11 there. Face-offs, slight edge for Carolina. We had 27-26. We were 1 for 2 on the power play. The Detroit Red Wings were 0 for 2, 4 penalty minutes apiece. But yeah, this game was never really in doubt. Just solid throughout.
Yeah, it's interesting because
from the beginning to end, just domination.
Both of those teams, the Pens and the Wings, and later in the week.
Yeah, all three.
They were desperate for a playoff bid, and
desperate teams.
Yeah, and they didn't.
Wings didn't seem too desperate. They were without Patrick Kane,
right.
At least to my eyes. Like I said,
I never heard the reason. We were still without Jesper Fast. That was Svetch's 400th game.
Svetch's 400th game. He got a little standing ovation.
320 points in 400 games. It's not bad.
It's really good. It's really good. We need to remember,
right?
He's always been a streaky player, but right now he's certainly in a slump. The last two games, particularly against Detroit and Montreal, though, he's doing things to affect the game. We saw him paired with Stahl and Teuvo Teravainen, which is a line combination I never would have thought would ever be a thing, but it's working, and it's a solid line, and defensively it's solid. We're playing teams like Detroit and Montreal with it, so not exactly the most dangerous teams. You don't necessarily need a Stahl, Martinook, Foss lockdown line when you're playing,
Right.
those types of teams, especially if they're without Patrick Kane. But Rod's trying to do some things to get Svetch activated in the game, and he has been activated in the game. I thought these past 2 games he was definitely very impactful. There was a really good shift in this game from that line where, a minute and a half straight of just all in the Detroit Red Wings zone. Didn't end up leading to anything, but shortly after, I believe, is when we got the first goal of the game from the Aho line. So, stuff like that. He's not on the scoreboard, but he's being impactful in the game. And just give it time, fans. He'll come around. Our biggest worry last playoff was not having Svechnikov because of all the points that we were going to miss. I'm not worried about him not producing points going into the playoffs this year because of all the points that we're getting from everyone else. So, if he's at least in the lineup, regardless of if he's getting points, it's still positive for the team. So,
Svech does more things than just score.
He does.
He's not. I wouldn't say he's an elite defender, but the fact that he's physical really can be disruptive to a team.
Yeah, and especially for Carolina, who I just looked it up before the start of the podcast here, is dead last in the league in terms of hits. So, we're not exactly the most physical team. We've got some guys who will do it from time to time. But yeah, the guy who does come to mind when it comes to big hits on the team, that's Andrei Svechnikov. So he does things that can invigorate the team regardless of whether or not he's putting the puck in the back of the net. As long as he can stay out of the box, that's really all I need out of Andre from game in, game out. Just a solid effort and stay out of the box.
So I'm just looking at this. Aho had his 30-second goal from Gensel and Jarvis on a power play. That was a nice play. Aho to Jarvis. That was Jarvis's 28. That was also a power play. Those 2 events for Aho gave him 250 career goals and 300 assists. So he's third in both categories in franchise history.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to catch.
Yeah, he's had a remarkable run with the Hurricanes, and he's going to continue to have a remarkable
Freddie had a good game. There were Freddie chants throughout the game. It's always nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Every season, in my opinion, Aho's gotten better. And this season, he's taken the leap. I think he is definitely deserving of what he's getting paid now. And I think if he can continue on this progression, give us 5 more points every single season for the next 4 seasons, that's 20 points. He's on pace for almost 100 points.
That was my question.
Amazing.
He's got 85 points, and we have 7 games left, so he has to get 15.
Okay, so he's not quite on pace for 100, but he's not far.
Well, he missed a couple games, so if he does, I mean, he's got to do more than 2 points a game. He's got to be just over 2 points a game to get to 100. Yeah. I thought Eric Stahl had the franchise record for points in a season, and he does not. It's Mike Rogers, Dan Rogers from the old Hartford Whalers got 105 points.
Okay, well, no offense, Whalers fans, if you're watching this podcast, I really appreciate it, but I don't.
Come on, they're playing the same teams. The Bruins, the Rangers, the Islanders. I mean, it's the same franchise.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, but a lot of those records have come from are they all NHL records, or are they WHA and NHL crossover records?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So we've got a real 3-way battle. Maybe you could consider a 4-way battle if you want to throw the Islanders in the mix to see who's going to make the playoffs this year, between the Capitals, the Wings, and the Flyers. So we'll get into that later.
None of those teams really seem to want it right now. They're all trying to hand it off to each other. Like, no, you take it.
Well, the team that wants the most right now is the Capitals, because the other 2 teams, and we'll see, are in free fall. Free fall.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, before we jump into it, let's go ahead and do a quick recap of the Montreal game. Another shutout. So Anderson gets the shutout in the game versus Detroit.
Yeah.
He was excellent. He didn't have to make any remarkable saves, but he was
Yeah.
solid throughout. And then here in Montreal, in Montreal, but against, of course, Montreal, Kochetkov gets a shutout. This game, final score 3-0 on this one. Jordan Stahl with a shorthanded goal in the second period, about halfway through, and then Aho gets his 33rd of the season on the power play. 3:42 into the third period, and then Jarvis late in the game would get his 29th. That's from Gensel and Aho. Gensel and Jarvis were the assisters on the Aho goal. So again, that line just red hot. They each got 2 points this game. So if they keep it up and get 2 points every season, every game for the rest of the season, he can get 100 points. Yeah, domination throughout for the Hurricanes. Not quite as much as the Detroit game. There were spurts of this game where Montreal had some life. They've got some really good players. They were dangerous. Slavkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, Kochetkov, I thought, had a really good game. I thought he maybe had to make a little bit more of difficult saves than Anderson had to make in the previous game. He was really good, dialed in from the start. But yeah, again, Hurricanes taking care of business against lesser teams at this point, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump right in. Any other thoughts on this game? I mean, just kind of a continuation of the Detroit game.
It was, and that's a good way of describing it. I'm missing my
Canes. Special teams were the story. Shorthanded goal from Stahl, then you get a power play goal from Aho.
Yeah,
so.
and you give up, zero power play goals on three power plays.
Yep. 3. Yep. Keep it
so
over
the
3.
Canes, I think
it's something like 11 straight kills or something like that for the Hurricanes.
I was going to say, I don't know if it was the Detroit game or this game, but at some point the Canes became number 1 in penalty kill in the NHL.
Yep, number 1 in penalty kill right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was a Piotr game. My 3 stars were Kochetkov, Jarvis, and Slavin. Slavin had some really good defensive plays, as usual. It's unfortunate that he goes unsung, but
he's great. They really do need to give award to the defensive defenseman of the year, because he would win almost every single year.
It's phenomenal.
I mean, I don't watch other teams like I watch the Hurricanes, so it's hard to know if there's anyone out there that really does compare on a defensive level but like him. But he just makes it look so fucking easy.
Oh, it's
like every game, I'm like,
yeah.
There's no one else on the team on the ice that could do that. Oh, there's no one, and he just simple stuff like they're trying to enter the zone and the guy's trying to flip it past him. He just whacks it out.
Whacks it out of the air.
No one else on the team can do. No one else on the team has that kind of hand-eye coordination. Like, it's remarkable. If there was a way you could get him down low in front of the net to tip pucks.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Somehow, it doesn't make sense from a structural standpoint because he's got too far to go to get back defensively, but something like that could be just unbelievable. Anyways, yeah, he's great as always.
And Jarvis is having a phenomenal year. We talked a couple weeks ago, maybe it was last week, we talked about restricted free agents. We don't want to go into it now, but the more I think about it, the more I think that we're probably going to lose Brady Shea because we've got to pay these forwards. And I think a high-paying defenseman's going to be the collateral damage. It's sad, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I gotta see. Is Morrow ready for next year? Is he going to be ready?
When are we going to get the Russian over here?
It's another year. I know. It's another year.
So,
yeah. Because, that's...
wouldn't that be great if we could be here when Orlov's here and those two, Orlov could teach him?
Well, who knows? I mean, you expect if you lose Shea or Pesci, right? Orlov's re-signed for next year, so you assume that he moves up into the second pairing, right? He's on the third pairing right now. I mean,
so they're all getting if Shea and Pesci, the whole second line go, so Chatty and Orlov would.
Well, maybe not the whole second line, but assuming at least one of them's going to go, and at this point,
it could be both.
I've just it could be both for
Depends on
sure.
what
Could be
Pesci
both,
wants.
but at this point, yeah. Ultimately, it is going to depend on price for both of them. Ultimately, I would prefer to keep Brady Shea at this point.
No disrespect,
I
but
think
that's
defensively,
the type of defenseman we need.
No disrespect to Pesci and everything. He's been here longer, and I do think he is deserving of a raise, and I do think he's deserving to stick around with Carolina if he wants to. But Shea's he's taken it to the next level on an offensive and defensive level this season. He's as good, if not better, defensively than Pesci in my eyes, and he's significantly better on an offensive level. So,
well, maybe we can keep him, but one of those guys is going to be damaged,
right? Yeah. I mean, more than likely. All right, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about a couple other items here related to going into the playoffs. You want to talk about goalies first? You want to talk about who do you want to play first?
Yeah. Let's talk about who we want to play because I have more input on that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
At first, I limited it to Detroit, the Flyers, and the Capitals because those are the most likely suspects that we'll play.
Who is currently the two wild card teams?
It's the Flyers and the Wings, I believe. No, the Lightning. Sorry. I had it up and now I lost it. The Flyers are not even in it yet anymore. Let me see.
The Flyers are the number 2 wild card seed right now. The ones they are in it right now. The Wings are not in it. The Islanders are not in it. Those teams
right
are just
now we will
out,
play the Capitals.
As are the Devils and Penguins.
Where the standings sit today, we would play the Capitals.
Yeah. Okay. Now, out of the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Capitals, out of those 3 teams, I would probably most likely play the Flyers at this point. Now, we talked about this. We were kind of talking about topics earlier in the week as far as what we were going to discuss on the podcast. And this is, something that we obviously touched upon. And at that point, I said, no, I think I'd rather play the Flyers. I just think Tortorella is such a good coach. He's so experienced.
You were worried about the Flyers having grind his tongue.
I was more worried about the Flyers. Now, they are more in a free fall than the Capitals. The thing with the Capitals is their goal differential is negative 31. What business does a team that has a negative 31 goal differential have doing in the playoffs? And that comes down to coaching, which is what my fear was against the Flyers, right? Tortorella, I was giving a lot of credit. Oh, he's such a great coach. What's his name for the Capitals? It's his first year with the team. He is excellent. There's a lot of talk of him being up for Jack Adams Award if they even make the playoffs because, again, they're scoring 31 goals less than they're allowing 31 more goals than they're scoring per on the season. And they're still finding a way to have 82 points and be in that position, the third in the Metro, right? So it's a remarkable thing that they're doing. And, we saw that game against them not so long ago, 2 weeks ago, 6-7 loss in the shootout against them. Yeah. Was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. Just so ugly and so weird. And that game was atypical for the Hurricanes, but it was also atypical for them. Like, they're the type of team that wants to win 2-1, 3-1, 1-0, like grind out these tough to win games. They get the lead and then they just kind of sit on it, right? It's kind of their MO.
They're minus 31 goal differential this season so far.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy that they're even in a playoff spot. Now the Flyers are kind of a similar situation, right. Negative 16 goal differential, but they're really not in a good spot. They've been in that free fall position, but so is Detroit. So Detroit is now on the outside looking in. So Capitals, Flyers, and Detroit, those are most likely one of the teams that we're going to play. But Tampa Bay's right there. And so at this point, we're actually going to be facing the Lightning.
No, because
Is that not correct?
they're an Atlantic Division wild card. And if we don't win if we won,
I don't.
Excuse me. No,
I don't think that
it
matters.
does. The winner of each division plays one of the wild card teams. We're not a winner of our division. We're not going to play a wild card team in the first round.
Oh, correct. I see what you're saying.
So
my mistake.
Let's assume Tampa Bay's the number one wild card team. They're going to play the Rangers. No, they're going to play the Bruins. And then the winner of that game or series will play the winner of the Panthers Leafs series. Man, Atlantic is bad.
Yeah, so Capitals, Flyers, Red Wings. What's your order in terms of preference?
I'd rather play the Wings than the Flyers, and least likely I don't want to play the Capitals.
Yeah, that's my order too.
They're just a veteran team.
I think the Wings.
Yeah, and
Capitals.
I just think they're wily that way. They know how to win in the scrums.
Yeah.
You know, Detroit, the Flyers maybe as well. They have some.
Flyers are a similar team in that regard. They're a little bit
Detroit,
younger, I think, but
they just want to outskate you.
They beat us earlier in the season.
So let me give you some stats.
Yeah. Detroit would win with its skill. That's their most dangerous component,
right.
is their skill.
So Detroit went 3-11 in March. They're falling fast.
Yep. Now, what about these other teams?
They didn't make the playoffs in the previous 2 years. They had 80 points and 74 points, respectively. This year, they sit at 80 points. So they're progressing, but I don't see them making the playoffs. The Flyers haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years either. They're 5-10 in March. So they played a lot of games, but they're only winning one out of every three. And so they're sinking fast, too.
Yeah, the Flyers had the Capitals spot not so long ago. I mean, if they just get one more win, they're right there again. They're both tied.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a coin toss. It just depends if Torts can get his guys motivated again, I guess.
Yeah.
They 2 seasons ago they had 61 points. Last year they had 75. Right now they sit at 82. So they're again making some good progress.
I wonder if the issue with the Flyers at this point of the season is Torts, in that he's worn them so hard. He's got them playing in a style that's not necessarily the most fun thing, especially for younger guys, but they're winning games. Then he does something like sit the captain for a couple games in a row. I don't know if he's still being sat, but Couturier, was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
The captain of the team was a healthy scratch for at least a couple games in a row. And they at least won one of those games. Now, I wonder if something like that is just, Torts kind of has grinded on them a little bit too long. It's a little too late into the season for him to still be kind of doing some stuff like that. And that could be maybe part of the reason that they're coming to this screeching halt that they are. But sorry, go ahead. You were listening to the stats for Capitals.
So the Capitals, after 73 games, they're 82 points. They went 9-6 in March, but although not fantastic, it was enough to overcome those other two teams and jump into the third place in the Metro. But despite their minus 31 goal differential, last season they didn't make the playoffs. They were sixth in the Metro. They only had 80 points. The season before, I didn't write down their points, but they lost in round one, I think 4 games to 2 to the Panthers. Because of how free fall Detroit and Flyers are in, I thought maybe I should look at the Islanders. So last year, the Islanders were 4th in the Metro, 93 points. They lost in round one to the Canes in 5 games. The year before, they were 5th in the Metro. They didn't make the playoffs. So none of these teams really have a lot of playoff experience in the last couple of years. Any successful playoff experience. No. Whereas the Canes in 2020, in 21, 22, we beat Boston in 7, and then we lost in 7 to the Rangers. We had 116 points that season.
Yeah.
We were first in the Metro. Last season, we're first in the Metro again with 113 points. We beat the Isles. We beat the Devils pretty handily in both of those series, and then we got swept by the Panthers in the conference final.
Yeah. One game loss, one goal loss in each of those games. Yeah, this should all give
That's
Canes
what I was
fans a
gonna
lot
say.
of confidence, right? This is all should be given with confidence. That being said, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Anything can happen. Don't count on anything. Don't underestimate any one of these teams that were like, oh, we would rather play this team. I would rather have to just jump straight to the Stanley Cup finals and then just play one team and call it quits. But that's not how it fucking works, right? You have to go through 4 grueling best of 7
the rules
series.
have changed.
And each and every one of them is a battle. Each and every game, each and every shift is a battle. So hockey is by far the most random out of the 4 major sports. I don't think there's a lot of people that would argue otherwise. So anything can happen, but we're an elite team. We're going into this season, going into the playoffs at this point with a plus 56 goal differential. That is tied for second in the NHL, behind the Panthers by 1 and behind the Vancouver Canucks by 1, tied with the Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers as well. So, yeah. Oh, excuse me. Colorado has a plus 58 goal differential. My mistake. So tied for third. Yeah. So Hurricanes are an elite team. We're up there with the best of the best of the best. However you want to stack the top 5-6 teams in the NHL, we're up there. So you should be very excited. And one of those reasons we should be excited is, let me go ahead and segue this right into the goalie conversation, because the goalies have been really, really great, especially the latter half of this season since about mid-December or so. And so one thing I wanted to ask you is, who do you start? Now, I've got some stats to look into, but just eye test what you know about the stats of both the goaltenders right now. Who do you start game 1 of the playoffs, and what do you do going into the playoffs? Are you riding a guy out? You riding the hot hand, or how's that going to work? What do you think?
Right now I consider them pretty much even. So I don't consider one hotter than the other. If I had to choose one being hotter, I'd say Anderson's hotter, because he's only got 11 games, 12 games under his belt, and he hasn't lost yet.
And the stats would back that up as well. Yeah, the stats will back that up as well, but it's not far off. Go ahead.
But in my mind, I'm just thinking, I don't know that I want to put everybody on Aunt Freddie's back. I think the way that coach is managing these games, just alternating them, is good for Freddie's health. It may be to the detriment of Piotr, who probably would rather play every day. And maybe that's hurting his stats a little. I don't know.
The mental health of it is something that's definitely.
But right now, that's kind of the way I think I would start Anderson. It's like in baseball, if you're the batter and you've been throwing 3 straight balls, the strategy is make the pitcher throw you a strike, right? And that's what it is. Make somebody beat Freddie.
Right.
And until they beat him, put him in there.
Yeah. Yeah. The team obviously plays really well in front of him. They play well in front of Kochetkov as well. We're top defensive team in the league, is on top of having really good goaltending. But yeah, there's a lot of components to that argument. I think your argument, is a very strong one. You ride out the hot hand for as long as you can. Anderson is healthy at this time, so when he's healthy, why don't you play him, right? Is kind of part of the argument as well. Now, I took a look at, I've got everyone's stats pulled up here, so if there's any specific stats that you're wondering about, I'm just going to go ahead and list off a couple here. But right now in the 2023-2024 regular season, Frederick Anderson has 13 games played. He's got 13 starts. He's 11-1-0 with a 930 save percentage, okay? He's only allowed 23 goals in those 13 games with a 1.88 goals against average. He's got 2 shutouts in that time, okay? His career regular season stats, we'll just go ahead and look at the save percentage, is 916. So he's up to 930 right now. Again, he's only played 13 games this season, and his goals against is not 2.56. Currently, it's 1.88 this season. Looking at his career playoff stats, it's 2.44 goals against average and 0.917. So essentially, his regular season stats are duplicated. His career regular season stats are duplicated come playoff times. So, very good. He's 32-26 is his record. Okay. Now, going ahead and looking at Kochetkov here, he's got 39 games played. 37 of those are starts. He's 20-13-0 in that span here. He's got 911 is his save percentage. Okay. So we said that Freddie's is 920 this season. Piotr's is 911. And then, of course, he's got a significantly larger sample size. 3 times the. Yeah. 930. Okay. So better, but obviously a bigger sample size for Piotr. He's got double the amount of shutouts. His goals against is 2.38. Okay. Now his career regular season is 2.4 goals against and a 0.9091 save percentage. Yeah. So basically same thing he's doing this season stat wise. Now, looking at the team at both of those goaltenders recently, okay? Since Freddie's come back, he's played 7 games. Piotr's played 7 games, okay? Frederick Anderson is 7-0-0 in 7 games with a goals against average of 1.14 and a save percentage of 0.957 in his last 7 games. That is remarkable. He has not let up more than 2 goals in any game since he's been back. In 7 straight games, he has not let up more than 2 goals. Okay,
those last 7 games,
and he's got 2 shutouts in that season.
That'll win you 2 playoff series.
Yep, that'll win you 2 playoff series and 1 extra game. Yep. Now take a look at Piotr's over the last 7 games. Okay, he is 4-2-1 with a 2.27 save percentage, goals against average, and a save percentage of 0.916. So not nearly as good, but he does have that freak game there against Washington.
Yeah, it was a weird game.
You and I both watched that game. Which one of those goals do you fault him on? The one that Natchez put in his own net, or I don't fault him on any of those. So I just wanted to kind of like I said, it's definitely the weirdest game I've seen.
It's the weirdest game I've seen in a long time.
So it was a weird game. So I'm just going to eliminate that from the stats just for the sake of it. You take that out. He's got a 1.66 goals against average and a 0.941 save percentage. So regardless of who you start, they're both extremely hot right now, okay? They're both on fire right now. Kochetkov is the number 1 goalie in goals against average for any goalie in the NHL who has played 24 games or more with a 2.38. He's better than Bobrovsky. He's better than Vasilevsky. He's better than Shesterkin. And it comes to goals against. It's goals against average, which is more of a team stat than a goaltending stat. But it's
a Slavin. It's got the Slavin factor on that.
Yeah. But that's all to say, the team's goaltending has never been better.
Hey, John, I lost your video. There you are.
Playoffs. It should be coming back. I got 10% battery, but I'm keeping an eye on it. We'll wrap it up in time. Okay, so Kochetkov and Anderson both have great stats. I think what you said is correct about, Anderson being a little bit hotter going into the playoffs. Why not ride out the hot hand? That being said, I do think you need to manage these guys, and they both need to play to be playing very well at their best. And I think Kochetkov might need that a little bit more than Anderson. So here's my thing. When I watch Freddie and when I watch Kochetkov, I'm more amazed I find myself in amazement a little bit more watching Kochetkov at times than I am with Anderson. I think Kochetkov has the ability to make that oh my god save, and Anderson can too. I'm not saying he can't, but what I'm getting at is I think Kochetkov has the ability to steal more games than Anderson does. Does that make sense? I think that he's got a higher ceiling than Anderson does. Anderson clearly has a higher floor, right? His baseline is a higher baseline than Kochetkov. Kochetkov can be a sieve from time to time. There's no question he's going to have one or two games out of any 82 game season where he's just not going to play good.
Here's what I would say, John, about kind of that idea. Yes, Piotr probably has made some amazing saves this year. Open blocker hand saves type of thing, where he doesn't need to stick. I'll just catch the damn puck. But it's I would argue that it's misleading because, and it's misleading in this way. Anderson's technique is so much better. He makes goaltending look easy because he's always seems to be in position. Whereas Peter, he's kind of all over the place because he's overreacting to a pass maybe or a wraparound. You see him kind of follow the guy around the net. I mean, Freddie is a veteran. He knows how to play the position.
I will say that there's probably a little bit of truth to that. I think Anderson's positional, awareness is probably a little bit more primed and a little bit more tuned in than Kochetkov's. But I'm only thinking this is a marginal amount because Kochetkov knows how to play big. He knows how to use his body well. He moves arguably side to side better than Anderson.
The other weakness to Kochetkov's game, and you and I have disagreed on this, but as I was reviewing the game, I think the Pittsburgh game, it came up in a couple of my notes. He's not a great puck handler. He's not a great puck handler. He doesn't
make good decisions with the puck.
He has the ability.
He's got all the ability with the puck. Anderson's not the best either. Did you remember what happened in the Montreal Canadiens or the Toronto game where he picks up the puck, he tries to throw it right up the middle of the ice? Yeah. Matthews, the most dangerous player.
And he's done that a couple times this year.
And he's done that a couple times. I remember I've seen Freddie drop the puck and try to swing at it midair, utterly fail. Like, they both have their weaknesses.
I'm not arguing we play Freddie until he gets beat. I'm saying I would start Freddie, but I like the idea of alternating them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Is I don't know if Rod's ever going to be comfortable with that until other people do it and prove it's successful. I don't really know if it's really been done and proven successful yet in the playoffs. But alternating goaltenders back and forth game to game. It seems like a weird concept, especially come playoff time. But I think it could work in this scenario.
Because what do guys mainly do when they have two good goalies? They let a goalie go until he gets beat, and then they replace him with one who's coming, let's say, colder than if he played every. So let's say Freddie wins his first two, and then he gets beat bad in game 3. You put Kochetkov in. At that point, then he's kind of, I don't know. I like the idea of letting them share responsibility and not putting the burden on any one goalie to get a string of games together.
Okay. Now I just mentioned that every team come playoff time is a really good team, and you probably don't want to. You probably want to just play your best goaltender. That's probably conventional logic would just say play your best goaltender. If the guys are as close as they are right now, and let's say in Rod's head, he also maybe is of the mindset that ceiling-wise, Kochetkov maybe has a higher ceiling. I don't know if he even believes that, but let's just say that he does. Do you then start Kochetkov in round 1 against a lesser opponent And then you can reserve Freddie, who we know has health issues, who we know plays better when he's well rested.
No, I see your argument.
And then you let
Listen,
Kochetkov kind of, lead the charge. And then, Freddie's like, well, why didn't you start me game one when the shit does hit the fan? And then at least he's healthy, and then he's got a chip on his shoulder to play well as well. So I don't know. It's just an interesting conversation. I think ultimately you're probably going to go with Anderson if the trajectory of their last 7 games holds through to the end of the season. Then over 14 games, because there's another 9 games for us or so. No, there's only 8 games left of the season. So you say 4-4 starts. So if each of them play the way they have been the past 7 games for the next 4 games each, then I think, you got to give it to Anderson. But just something I thought was interesting, because you don't want Kochetkov to get stale.
I'm not suggesting play Anderson until he loses, or even loses consecutive games. I like the way it is usually how it works.
That's usually how
but
it works.
I like the way that we're playing right now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how we've been playing for the last month, basically. Every other game.
It's been alternating.
I think it's great. It keeps them fresh. Like you said, their stats are just alternate.
All right, so that's your vote,
unless someone gets blown out or injured or tweaks something.
I think I like that too. You gotta keep them both engaged. That's the thing. And particularly you just can't let Kochetkov get cold, because Anderson, we know he can get injured, and if you got then to throw in a cold Kochetkov at that point, I don't
John,
love that.
You're forgetting about our secret weapon,
an unexperienced
Spencer Martin.
Yeah, I mean, against anyone, we can throw any of those 3 goalies in.
We just have a good team.
We've got at least a pretty good shot. We're a hell of a team. We're really, really good.
Think about it, John. Before we leave, think about it.
All right. Well, I think that
earlier in this season, we were in panic mode because Anderson was hurt, Ronta wasn't playing well, Kochetkov was unproven. We were really worried about our goaltending. And now I'm like, we're the best. We got the best duo in the league. I mean, maybe Bobrovsky and what's his name?
I'd say Olmark and Swayman is probably still.
But you know what? Yeah,
but still, quick. And
no, I was thinking Bobrovsky and Stolars. Yeah. But
Stolars has been playing really well too lately.
Quick and Shesterkin.
There's a lot of good goalie duos. I mean, we just listed off the top 4 teams in the East. I don't know of any goalie duos that are that good in the West, but
I want to look at the Bruins here recently, because the Bruins
teams playing a lot of good hockey this time of year.
Oh, that can't be right. Damn, they had a lot of home games this month.
Yeah, Bruins are 6-4-0 in their last 10. Hurricanes 8-1-1.
It's interesting about.
Now we forgot to pause on this. We just like it's funny that we forgot to pause on it, because we even talked about pausing on it before going on to the Montreal game. And it's kind of the way that most fans have reacted to this news as well. And then that is that they're not really reacting, and that is that the Hurricanes have clinched the playoffs for the 6th straight year, and we did it with 8 games to go in the season, and no one's really even mentioned it, and that's because it's just a given at this point. But we should be really, really, really happy with the fact that is a given in our mind right now. Right? The team. The team is on a remarkable run ever since Rod Brindamore came back to the organization, ever since Tom Dundon took over, ever since Aho was drafted, along with Slavin and Pesci and, Svechnikov, Jarvis. Like this team
John
is
Waddell
having its heyday right now.
From Rutherford.
And fans really need to be recognizing of how appreciative we should be right now. Like this is the golden era for the Carolina Hurricanes. I was a fan in since when did we first go to our Hurricanes game? 2000, 2001?
2001 or 2002.
Did we go in 1999? 2000. Okay, so very early on. I mean, it was definitely 2001 because we went to the 2001-2002 playoff series.
Yeah, but that was in
against
2000.
Detroit.
It was that season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so I've been with this team for a long time through the glory days early on from that period leading up until the 2005-2006 Stanley Cup champions. But that stretch was some good hockey play during those times. It was nowhere near the level of consistency that we're talking about with this stretch here, right? We don't have a championship quite yet under this stretch, but we've been knocking at the door the past 3 years. We're coming at it for a fourth year in a row. So this team is a really, really good team. Fans should recognize that this is the time to get in if you're a new Carolina Hurricanes fan. This is the time to really, really take advantage of how good this team is, and it's a great time to be a fan of the Hurricanes. That's all I'm trying to say.
We lost you again, but it's almost
no, we're back.
Now, granted, it's 6 years. And even stalwart franchises, like let's just say Boston or call it Toronto, they'll have years where they don't make the playoffs. But those are kind of teams you expect to be in the playoffs. And Carolina's getting to the point where we expect them to be in the playoffs. And that's a good sign that when the expectation is you're going to make the playoffs.
There's 32 teams in the National Hockey League. There's only 16 teams. Only half the teams make the playoffs, let alone win multiple rounds, multiple seasons in a row. It's an amazing feat that we're accomplishing right now. So the end goal is obviously not accomplished. That's what everyone is hungry for. But understand that this is a really good time to be a Hurricanes fan. Yeah. All right. And on that note, is that it? I think that sums it up for the week. We've got 8 games left.
7 games
to round out the season here. Do you have that pulled up? 7 games.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
We have the Bruins and Capitals. We play the Bruins twice.
Yeah. So a 3-day break here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We don't play again until Thursday of this week.
But the 3 home games in a row, and then we finish with 4 road games.
4 road games. So Boston, Washington, Columbus, then Boston again, St. Louis, Chicago, and then followed up by another game against Columbus. So mostly in the Midwest, we're a couple Boston games sprinkled in.
We're still in contention for the President's Trophy. We're still in contention for a Metro championship, but it's going to take some. It's going to take some work, and we're going to need some help. But regardless, unless we pass the Rangers, we're going to be playing whoever comes. And right now, it's the Capitals. So whoever's coming in third in that in the Metros, who we're going to play in the first round. And really, and as we sorry, but as we talked about, there's not really anyone I'm scared about, whether it's Capitals, the Flyers, or if the Islanders sneak in. I think of those, the Capitals is the only one that worried me, and I think it's mainly for sentimental reasons.
We beat them when we had Brock McGinn on the team, and they were the defending Stanley Cup champions. Right. I'm not worried. All right. Well, have a good week, Canes fans, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with as many people as you can. I'll try to get this thing up as a podcast here shortly, so available on Spotify and iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make that a goal for this week. I've got a couple days to figure that out. So have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.